Hi, and welcome to a new series, Level Up. In this series, I'm going to be addressing a really common problem. It's something that people come to me asking me about all the time. They say, I'm learning the ukulele, I've learned lots of chords, doing pretty well, I can play songs in my songbook, I can join in with the ukulele clubs and jams and things like that, and I've made loads of progress, and then suddenly I've hit this point. Where do I go now? And the two big problems people have are, one is they say, well, I was making all this progress and I could see I was getting better and learning more chords and more songs, and suddenly, bang, I don't know where to go after that. And I can see that lots and lots of other people are doing things that I'm not doing, but I can't find out how to get to that point. The other big thing, number two, is that they say, I can play all of these songs, but they all sound the same. So in this series, we're going to take pretty common chord progressions, things you'll find in lots of songs, and find ways of making them sound different, better, more interesting, just to add something musically to them that maybe has been lacking. Now, what you heard me play at the beginning there was a simple 12-bar blues in G. This is the chord pattern for it, and I'll strum through the chords. G, C7, G, D7, C7, and G. Now the 12-bar blues pattern isn't just found in blues music. Those three chords in that arrangement happen in lots and lots of songs, from rhythm and blues, rock and roll, country, all kinds of music is based around the 12-bar pattern using those three chords. Now maybe not in the key of G, but we're going to look at the key of G today because it allows us to do some nice little things around those chords. We're going to turn that pattern into a kind of New Orleans feel shuffle blues rhythm. Now, if you're not sure about the kind of rhythm we're going to be playing here, you might want to check out a little video I did, little link up there, on the tresillo rhythm. But don't get too hung up about it. The best thing to do is try and listen and follow along. The great thing about this is that there are 4 patterns, even though there are 12 bars. We have one pattern that we use on every G chord. So that whole first line is the same bar of music 4 times. We have another pattern that we can use on our C7 chord on the second line. And then we go back to G again and we use our G pattern again. And on the last line, we have a pattern to use on the D7 chord, a different one for this C7, more of a little run, a little line rather than a chord pattern. And then we're back to G again. So let's break down each one of those chords and then we can try and put them together. I'm kind of doing a chord and a bass line here. Everything on this G pattern happens on your first, second and third strings. We're not touching the G string at all on this part. And what we're after is this. So we've got a chord happening on the 1, 2 and. 1, 2 and 3, 4. So that's the first thing to try and get, is just to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4. And that's very closely related to that tresillo rhythm in my ukulele trick of the week video that I put a link up to a moment ago. In between those, we are playing a little pattern on the C string. And what I'm doing is I'm essentially going from a G to an E minor. I'm not really thinking of it as an E minor chord. I'm just using that note that I would put my little finger on to turn a G into an E minor, the 4th fret of the C string. So I'm really just adding the 4th fret, but I'm keeping this finger down here because I'm going to take it off again. And what I'm after is this. 2, 4, 2. So when you put that little finger down, keep that first finger there. So what we get is this. The chord is being played by our first 2 fingers on the first 2 strings. and our thumb is playing that little bass line. Now I'm plucking those, but you could play it, hammer it on, and then play again. That's up to you. So just get used to doing that. Now, even if you weren't playing a 12 bar in G, you could still use that on a G chord if you wanted that rhythmic effect. It's a nice little thing to tuck away in your back pocket that you can pull out when you find yourself on a G chord in a song that either has that feel already or you want to add that feel too. Now let's have a look at the C7. We're not going to be playing it there. We're going to be playing it here. So this shape here, my index finger is on the 3rd, my ring is on the 4th, and my second finger is on the 3rd string, and we're not doing anything with the A string. We're not fretting it, we're not going to pluck it. Really, that's just like a G chord shape, but we've moved it across the strings towards the ceiling and up 1 fret. And that gives us a C7, but a C7 that's a little bit more controllable, plus we can slide into it, which is another great little sound. Now this one is a much easier pattern. We're just playing the chord. Initially, let's just concentrate on the plucking of the chord. So again, 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. And on the tab, you'll also see I've got an extra couple of strums, and I'm just putting a little, I'm doing that as a strum, and it's very muted and a lot more quiet. You don't actually have to put that in. It's still effective without that, but I'm just trying to keep the groove going. So I've got this. The count would be 1, 2, and 4. But I'm doing the and 4 as a little up down strum just on those 3 strings, or maybe just catching 2 of them. A little bit more quiet, just pushing the beat along. And the other thing I'm doing is, in the second bar of C7, well, just before the start of the second bar of C7, I slide down a fret and play the same chord 1 fret lower and slide it in, ready to start the next bar. So just try and get used to putting that slide in. Now I don't have to pluck that first one in the second bar because the slide covers it. So I'm plucking right at the end of the first bar of C7, but not the beginning of the second bar. 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, and 4. With those 2 patterns, we can do the first 8 bars of our 12 bar blues. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're 2/3 of the way through already. Our last line also has 2 G's at the end of it, so we already know half of our last line as well. All we've got to do now is the D7 and the C7. The D7 does something very, very similar to our C7. I'm playing a simple 2-finger D7, just 2nd fret on the G string, 2nd fret on the E string, and you know, you can play all 4 strings, but I'm keeping to my thumb and 2 fingers, so I'm just playing the G, C, and E strings. I'm not playing the A string. It doesn't really matter anyway, because my G and A strings are playing the same note, so I'm not gaining anything by playing that. And I'm going to do the same thing, 1, 2, and 1, 2, and I can put that little strum at the end like I did on the C7, but you might not want to this time because you're going to need to get in place ready for the run that comes next. So I would keep the D7 just the 1, 2, and 3, 4, because right at the end of that bar, on the and after the 4, we get one note, the 3rd fret of the C string, which leads us into a run in the next bar, which is this. Now that sounds really tricky. There's a way of doing this that makes it a lot easier than just following the tab. So let me show you my left hand. I'm going to be playing it with my second and third fingers, leaving this one free to do the note on the first fret. And I slide my whole hand down, so I'm playing the third fret with my ring finger. I slide it up to the fourth, and at the same time I put down my second finger here on the third fret. I use the open string, but I'm going to use my index finger to play the first fret, and I can do a little pull off when I've played that first fret note. Let's break it into smaller parts. The first bit is, okay, so my thumb plays the C string, my ring finger holds it at the third fret, I play it, I slide it up, I don't need to play it again, then my index finger of my right hand plays the third fret that my second finger is holding, I haven't let go with anything, then I can use my second finger to play the open first string. Okay. One more note to finish the first half of that, which is to go back and play your second string again with your index finger. Left hand doesn't move. Okay. That's the first bit. Keep those two fingers there. Bring your index finger down on the first fret and then pull off to the open string. So as I take off my index finger, I take it off a little bit sideways, so I'm almost plucking the string with my left hand index finger as it comes off the string. Okay. Now that's quite hard to do with these two fingers down, but you need to keep them down because the next bit is the second string, which you're still holding, and the next one is the third string, which you're still holding. So we're almost there. And again. And at that point, we take our index finger, we put it back at the second fret where it was for our G chord, we let go with the other fingers, we play that note, and as we're playing it, we form a G chord with our second and third fingers, and we can finish it off. And we're into our last bit of G. Now you could keep that G rhythm going for the last two bars. But it's going to start with that G as well, so that'll be an awful lot of the same thing. So what I did was, when I got to the very last bar, I stopped on that first chord on beat 1, 2, 3, 4, left it silent for the rest of that bar. So that when I loop round, there's a nice little stop at the end of each verse. So when I get to that final G, I go 2, 3, 4, start again. It's a nice little way of breaking up each verse. So let's go through the whole thing really, really slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're looking for a song to try this out on, I mean, you can try it on any 12-bar blues if you play it in the key of G, and it'll change the feel and give you a new version. But have a go at something like Little Richard's Lucille, because that one originally has this kind of rhythm, And you can completely change that song up by suddenly giving it this nice New Orleans kind of swagger to it. And if you want to hear that kind of rhythm in action, check out people like Professor Longhair and also Ry Cooder. I mean, I took a lot of inspiration from this rhythm from the playing of Ry Cooder. And if you look up Ry Cooder's concert for New Orleans, you'll hear him playing a very similar thing. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you again soon for another Level Up. Bye.